Good afternoon, 8th graders. We're back to 4.7. We're going to talk about example 3, but let's do a quick refresher on where we've been so far in this section. We've learned a new form of a line called point-slope form, and as you can see on the front page of your notes, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We, in example 1, learned how to take given information, the slope and a point, and plug it in and figure out the equation. In example 2, we were given point-slope form of a line and asked to glean information from it, get the point, get the slope, and then use it to graph a line. Well, let's get to example 3. So hopefully you have flipped to that page in your notes, and we're going to be writing linear equations in slope-intercept form. So our instructions are, write the equation that describes each line in slope-intercept form. So I want you to circle slope-intercept form. That is ultimately our destination, okay? You can get there directly if you know the slope and you know the y-intercept. But if you don't know both of those, you can't write in slope-intercept form just yet. You're not ready. So let's look at letter A and let's see what we are given, and I'm going to talk you through what's going on and how to handle each situation. So in the first one, we know that the slope is -4. That's great. That's half of the slope-intercept form. But they didn't give us the y-intercept. They gave us another point that's on our line. Okay, so we're not going to be able to go directly into slope-intercept form. You can only do that if you know the slope and if you know the y-intercept. We do not, so we're going to have to find another way to it. All right, so let's look at what we do know. We know the slope, got it, and we know a point. Okay, now I hope this is not too big of a stretch for us, but if I know a point and I know the slope, what form could I plug into knowing those two things? I know a point and I know the slope. Now hopefully you're thinking to yourself, hey, point-slope form, and you would be absolutely correct. So you look at the information that's given and you plug into the form that is most useful to you. And in this particular case, point-slope form is most useful to us. So that's where we're going to start. This is not the end product, but this is our starting point. All right, so let's plug in what we know. We know that y1 is -2. We know m is -4. And we know x1 is -1. Lots of negatives in there. All right, notice the y minus -2. Let's just go ahead and make that y plus 2, because remember, if you have double negatives like that, just turn them into positives. Don't do anything with the negative slope, can't cancel that sign out. And then we're going to change x minus -1 to x plus 1. Awesome, that looks really good. That is point-slope form, and if that's all they wanted, we would be finished. But that's not the end product. Remember, our end product is slope-intercept form. So don't think I've already plugged in numbers, I've got an equation, I'm finished. You do have an equation, but it's not in the form that was requested of you. So we still have a little bit of work to do. But we can use point-slope form and actually turn it into slope-intercept form. So let me talk you through this. Let's see if this makes a little sense. In slope-intercept form, what variable is all by itself on one side? That's right. If you said y, you are absolutely correct. So that's our ultimate goal, is to rearrange this equation so that y is by itself. And we can do that in 2 short steps. Step 1, distribute the -4. We don't want those parentheses there any longer, so that's going to be our very first step. So -4 times x is -4x, and -4 times 1 is -4. Great job. All right, step 2. To get y by itself, we need to move the positive 2 away from it. So let's subtract 2 from each side. All right. And so we've got y equals, just drop down to -4x, And then we're going to add the two like terms that they are. That's why I wrote the -2, the -2 under the 4. The -4 is because neither of them have a variable on it, so they're like terms. So what's -4 minus 2? You're right, -6. And so you can also write it this way. You don't have to write -4x plus a -6. You could write it very simply as -4x minus 6. And either of these answers are perfectly fine. Both of them are in slope-intercept form. Do you see it? Y equals mx plus b. Do you see it? I hope you do. All right, let's take a look. If you need to rewind and look at it again, go ahead and do that. It doesn't hurt to look at stuff one more time, so please go ahead and rewind if you need to. I'm going to erase a little bit. You don't erase. I just need a little bit of space, and we're going to go on to letter B. Same instructions. We need to write the equation of a line that contains these 2 points, 1, -4, and 3, 2. Well, what did they not give us this time that we had in letter A? You're right. They gave us the slope in letter A, but they didn't give us the slope in letter B. Do not despair. We can calculate that. So do you remember from a long time ago, not too long, I hope, a couple sections ago, we learned the slope formula. Now here's the slope formula. If I know 2 points, all I have to do is do y2 minus y1 and then divide that by x2 minus x1. Do you remember that? I think that was on our last test. Now, we know 2 points, so call one of them point 1 and the other one point 2, and let's get in there and plug it in and solve. So I'm going to rewrite them over here. Let's call this one x2, y2, and let's call this one x1, y1. Does it matter which one I call point 1 and which one I call point 2? Absolutely not. It does not matter in the least. All right, so let's plug in. Let's start with y2. I called my y2 -4 minus y1, which is 2. Awesome. All right, x2 is 1 minus, and x1 is 3. Okay, let's combine them. -4 minus 2 is -6. And 1 minus 3 is -2. It looks like when it's all said and done that my slope is 3. Okay? That's great. We can work with that. Anytime you have 2 points, you can always figure out the slope. Just use the slope formula. It's very, very simple. If you need the slope and you know 2 points, use the slope formula. All right, I'm going to erase a little bit. Looks like I'm going to need some extra room. I write so big. I am so sorry. All right, so now we know slope. We know not just 1 point, but we know 2 points. And now we need to write this line or this equation in slope-intercept form. Remember, guys, you cannot write in slope-intercept form unless you know the slope and the y-intercept. And I'm just here to tell you right now, you don't know both of them. You know the slope. You do not know the y-intercept. So we can't go right into the slope-intercept form. But let's look at what we do know. I know not just 1 point, but 2 points and slope. What form lets me plug in a point and a slope? You're right, point-slope form. So, but some of you are like, hey, there's 2 points here. Which one do I pick? Great question. Pick whichever one you want. It doesn't matter. If you want to avoid the negative numbers, then pick 3, 2. If you don't care, pick whichever one you want. But pick one of the points and use your slope. All right? I'm going to use 3, 2 and our slope, and I'm going to plug into the point-slope form. All right? So we're going to do it just like we did in example A, in the first one we did. So let's do this. Y minus 2 is equal to 3 times x minus 3. Awesome. Well, we're not done. We have an equation, but it's not the form that they asked us to write it in. So we need to do slope-intercept form. And then what that means is y's got to be by itself. So remember, we're going to do 2 steps. First step, distribute on the right. So we have y minus 2 is equal to 3x minus 9. Okay, great. That looks wonderful. The parentheses, they're gone. Last step, add 2 to each side. Beautiful. That's what it's supposed to look like. And now we're going to have y equals 3x plus negative 7. Or you can write it as y equals 3x minus 7. Either way, you got it. That is slope-intercept form. You did a great job. And I hope it's making sense. Towards the end, after we found the slope, it actually reflected what we did in A, exactly what we did in A. Great job. Let me flip to the next page. We have one more in this segment. And this is kind of weird. They gave us the x-intercept and they gave us the y-intercept. So, hey, for slope-intercept form, we've almost got it. We know part of it. Usually they give you the slope. Now they gave you the y-intercept. So all we need to do is figure out what the slope is. And that's easy. You can figure that out. X-intercept is negative 2. How do you write that point? Do you remember? Yeah, you're going to do negative 2, 0. And the y-intercept, how do you write that as a point? If you think it's 0, 4, you're absolutely correct. Now we know 2 points. Can we calculate the slope? Oh, sure we can. So let's use the slope formula. There you go. Rewrite that. Get that freshly ingrained in your mind. And then let's call this one x1, y1, and we'll call this one x2, y2. Does it matter which one's 0.1 and which one's 0.2? No, actually it doesn't. You choose. It's up to you. Okay, so y2, I said that that's 4 minus y1 is 0. Okay, x2 is 0 minus x1 is negative 2. All right, so let's clean this up. 4 minus 0 is 4, and 0 minus a negative 2 is the same thing as 0 plus 2, which is 2. And I just figured out that my slope is 2. Do I have enough information now to write slope-intercept form? Absolutely, I do. I can go right into that form and do it just like this, and I'm done. Now, if you don't recognize or don't see this as your B, then what you can do is how we solved it in letter B just a second ago, is pick one of those points and plug them in to that point slope form and solve from there. But I think this is much easier. They gave you the y-intercept, you calculated the slope from those 2 given points, plug into the slope-intercept form, and you've got it. If you have any questions or there's something still confusing, rewind the video, watch it again, see if you slow it down, start and stop me as needed, and then bring your questions to class tomorrow.